Hello everybody and welcome to the Whiskey Dictionary. I'm continuing with Scotchtober with a whiskey that I'm sure you all saw coming after last week's episode, but this is the Johnnie Walker White Walker, and it is the first in the release from the Game of Thrones and like Diageo kind of collaboration thing going on that'll present a lot more extra expressions coming from all different distilleries upcoming pretty soon. If you want to learn a little bit more about either that or Johnnie Walker, go check up the links up there. So, this bottle, let me talk to you about this bottle, because I gotta tell you, this is what this entire thing is about. They actually did a very good job here. When I first saw this bottle in a picture, I had assumed that this was some sort of like a really kind of plastic wrap kind of thing, and it was, you know, I figured it'd still look cool, but I thought it would feel cheap. I will say, I do still think it's a wrap, because you can kind of see the separation there, but it feels like a little texture to it. And one thing that's really cool about this is it's got this thermochromatic ink that makes a special message here. It says "Winter is here" show up on the side of the bottle. So you throw it in the freezer for a little bit and that will show up. So Johnnie Walker recommends that you drink this chilled out of the freezer. And because of that, I'm going to do as much, but I also poured one and kept it at room temperature just to kind of set my two different versions here, because you might not always keep this in the freezer. All right, so I'm gonna pour this out, and you should know that this was made by a guy named George Harper and a team over at Johnnie Walker, and they specifically picked some barrels from Cardew and Clynelish to make up this whiskey. All right, so I've got this chilled one here. I'm gonna go ahead and nose this and then taste it and give you my notes. So. Interesting. I will say I'm a little surprised. Usually when you chill a whiskey, as a lot of you will know, but not all of you, when you chill a whiskey, it's gonna dull everything about it. It's gonna dull the nose, it's gonna dull the taste, and it might be a little bit more refreshing, but ultimately you're gonna lose a lot of the complexity that you'll get in a room temperature whiskey. So when I nosed this room temperature whiskey, I gotta say, I wasn't super impressed. The nose on it isn't fantastic. It's a little bit grainy for me personally, but the nose on this is really interesting. It's almost like they really dialed this in a unique way, and I got to give George Harper some credit here, because when I smell this, I smell raspberries, and there's a little tiny bit of spice, a little bit of caramel in there, but for me it's like a red berry, and that's very cool. Certainly something that you don't even get very often, never mind in something that's chilled. So for me, the chilled one so far gets a pass. All right, let's go ahead and give this a taste and see if it lives up to it. Cheers. Well, that's an interesting experience. And it actually gets a little bit more interesting as it goes. All right, so let me see if I can break this down a little bit. So, and I'm gonna have the room temperature one in a minute too. Once it goes in your mouth, it's cold, right? Obviously, it's frozen or been chilled. So the immediate taste that you get is actually kind of light. It's almost like drinking like a Speyside, right? Something just very light and almost like floral. But as it warms up in your mouth, you get caramel and you get vanilla, and you get kind of, I want to say you get a little bit of a hint of that berry, but honestly it could just be the aroma kind of lingering around. So I'm not confident in that one. But you get a lot more than you do when you get it just out of the room temperature version. So let me go ahead and kind of give this a nose and a taste as well. So oddly enough, the nose on here, it's weird to say, it's almost more dull. This is so bizarre. I gotta hand it to them. They've done something I've never seen before, where the chilled version is actually more interesting than the room temperature. All right, so once again, it's a little bit grainy. You get some, yeah, you get some caramel in there as well, but mostly it's just grain. It's a little burny. All right, let's go ahead and give this a taste. Cheers. So you're once again getting just a little bit of a burn to that, but no big deal. And the biggest thing that you're getting, I would say, is kind of like a caramelized sugar, just not, it's, when I say caramel, right, I hope that you guys can understand the difference here. A caramel, like what you would buy as a candy, is not always necessarily the way that this tastes. It's almost like if you were to make your own caramel. A lot of the smells that you get when you're actually boiling sugar, that's what I'm usually talking about when I say something smells like caramel. Now, tastes like caramel is a little different because that's actually, in my mind, what the candy is. So anyway, there is a difference there. All right, so this tastes a little bit like caramel to me. All right. It's got a little bit of vanilla, but mostly it's just not as good. I would have the frozen version, oddly enough. I think that, all right, let me just kind of break this down. So giving you the overall here. So we've got a $36 bottle, and if you're a Game of Thrones fan, I think this is a no-brainer because it's a gimmick, but it's a cool gimmick, and it's kind of fun to have. I actually got this, earlier today at work, and I had it sitting on my desk, and a couple of people came over and they saw it on the desk, and they, like, one dude even put up a picture on Instagram of him holding the bottle. Like, this thing is going to make some waves. It is a cool thing, and it's something that you should consider getting. One thing I didn't mention, and I think this is so cool, I hope once again this is in focus. If not, I'm gonna put something else up here. But the Walking Man is actually wearing the Night King, his armor. And I just think that's so cool. He's also holding an ice lance. I think they really knocked it out of the park with the bottling here. All right, that does it for this episode of the Whiskey Dictionary. If Game of Thrones is a thing that you like, I think you should buy this bottle. It's $36, virtually no risk here. And I think it's interesting, but I do very much recommend that you drink it the way it was intended and throw it in the freezer. All right, thank you for joining me here on the Whiskey Dictionary, and have a great rest of your night. Cheers.